Hey ESPN, I'm Jack.
And I'm Miles from the Daily Zeitgeist, a daily comedic news podcast that answers the question,
What if Stephen A. Smith spoke at a normal volume and his opinions were based on fact and not completely insane? This probably isn't the best way to describe this.
No, you just negated the two things Stephen A. Smith is known for.
Okay, what if The Daily Show was hosted by us?
Yes, but who is us?
Okay, I'm Jack. I'm the co-founder of Crack.com.
And I'm Miles. I love soccer and get very nervous when I'm pulled over by the police.
He's also a former lobbyist who quit politics for comedy.
Yeah. Well, look, we covered news, the president, pop culture, and we're both very big sports fans.
I'm actually named after my grandfather, legendary NBA coach and ESPN alum Dr. Jack Ramsey.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm named after Miles Davis, the legendary heroin addict who is not my grandfather.
So search the Daily Zeitgeist. If you don't know how to spell zeitgeist, like most of us, just type in Daily Z. It'll figure it out for you. On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are given away for free.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head to death. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood. Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom.
He is Jalen Rose.
What up, though?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in.
And we are Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio. What do?
We get people birthday one.
There's a gentleman in the National Basketball Association. Government name is DeMarcus Cousins. What's his real name?
Get down, boogie, oogie, oogie. Get down, boogie, oogie, oogie.
As you know by now.
If you work in the media, are you allowed to have favorites?
Yeah, you're allowed to have favorites.
I think, along with the Power Father, who should get unblocked officially because Boogie escaped Sacramento.
It's got to happen now.
Along with this fine program, not only have we been the catalyst for the Boogie bandwagon, we've consistently said the problem was Sacramento, not him. And what did they do? They allow him to escape. Oh, my goodness. Please tell me what happened, Jacoby. Please tell me.
Boogie Cousins was traded to the New Orleans Pelicans.
Oh, he was? Wow.
For Anthony Davis. Oh, no. I'm sorry. My bad. That was the only one that makes sense on paper. He was traded for Buddy Hield, Tyreek Evans, Langston Galloway, a first and a second round pick. What happened?
I'm about to get my KRS-One on here. I have a word to define my interpretation of what the Sacramento Kings did as they moved Boogie Cousins off their roster. Here's a word for everybody. The word is inept. You spell it I-N-E-P-T. And let me give you the definition of that word. Having or showing no skill, clumsy. Let me give you some synonyms for that word. Incompetent. Does that ring a bell?
Yep.
Unskillful. Inexpert. Amateurish.
Sounds like our show.
For some reason that I can't fathom, not only did he make the Sacramento Kings worth talking about in any way, shape, or form, I now welcome the opportunity over the next few years to not talk about them at all, because we won't be.
There's no reason to.
No. They get the new stadium. Correct me if I'm wrong. The fans, the public, help fund the stadium.
Yep.
People purchase tickets to watch basketball in said stadium. They sell this as the face will be DeMarcus Cousins. And then they bait and switch during AllStar weekend and trade him for a bag of chips?
What?
I remember being in Toronto, waking up one morning, and they were like, Vince Carter got dealt. I'm like, to who? They like, to the Nets. I'm like, we had to get Jason Kidd and Richard Jefferson in return.
Both of them.
It just had to happen. And no offense to the gentlemen who I love, Eric and Aaron Williams, and Alonzo Mourning, who clearly told him he wasn't coming from the jump. All of a sudden, that set that franchise back so many years. I don't know how much further you can set back the Sacramento Kings, who've been fixtures in the lottery for the last decade. But, man, we ain't going to have any reason to talk about them except how they got fleeced in this trade moving forward.
It's almost like you have to say, like, what do they see in Buddy Hield? Like, what makes them love Buddy Hield so much? And then you think back to the last time they played the Pelicans. Do you remember what Buddy Hield did?
I do.
He went for the nether region of Boogie Cousins pretty hard. And something, do you know what this Vlade Divac was probably sitting there watching that game saying, we need that on our team. Yep. That's what we need on our team. That's what we need there. We need that guy. And the little thing about Buddy Hield is he's not Devin Booker. You know, he's not like a 20-year-old that shows the potential to blossom into a superstar. He's 23 years old. He's a great shooter, and he looks like he's going to be a consistent shooter and a fixture on rosters for, you know, the next decade. But he, to me, what I've seen doesn't seem to have that superstar perennial all-star ceiling that some other younger players do.
And here's the thing. When the New England Patriots or the Miami Heat, San Antonio Spurs, Golden State Warriors trade for draft picks, you're like, you know what? They're going to get some good players. When the Sacramento Kings trade for draft picks, it makes me look back at who they've picked recently. How about something they got away? Did you know that Hassan Whiteside was drafted by the Kings the exact same year as DeMarcus Cousins?
Yeah, they decided he wasn't. They decided they didn't need that there, so they just dropped him.
But those that did not know, Jimmer Fredette, who just had 73 in the Japan League and his team lost, was drafted ahead of Isaiah Thomas.
Who was also on the Kings.
Did you also know the guy they just got in return, Tyreek Evans, has been hurt a few times since he left? And he averaged 25-5 as a member of that team, the only rookie besides the Big O and LeBron James to do such?
His best year was his rookie year with the Kings. Since then, it's been a pretty consistent downward slope.
Grievous Vasquez, solid pro. I like him as a big guard. 3 second-round picks. They can't get it right with first-round picks.
How's Ben McLemore doing? How's Stauskas doing?
I really... And here's the other thing.
Will Cauley-Stein, is he tearing up the league?
No. Here's the other thing. They also going to release Matt Barnes, who won't... don't be surprised, who's also going to end up on the Pelicans.
Now, hold on a second. Jalen, what do you always say about putting Matt Barnes and Boogie on the same team?
That could be toxic.
A combustible combination. Wait, what did they have in the locker room earlier this year that they were putting on social media? Henny. What was Matt Barnes doing this weekend? Oh, he was on social media and he had a contest who could guess what was in his red cup. Do you know what the winner was? Honey Jack. I mean, that's what Matt Barnes is up to.
So, for the Sacramento Kings, who the only thing that made them relevant is that they had DeMarcus Cousins, not the multiple coaches they've had the last decade, incompetent decision-making that they've done.
Remember Chris Mullen was running around there for a while, Mike Malone. They've run through Drake. A lot of executives and coaches.
Remember their owner wanted to see if one of the players on offense could cherry-pick?
Now, he's walked that back, but just to have that come out of your mouth. You know, like I get it. He was like, well, I was taken out of context. It was just sort of a brainstorm. It's like, still, dude, even in a brainstorm, there's bad ideas. And having one player not play defense, it just shows that you are not have a full grasp over how the game of basketball works.
Yeah. And so, like, it truly baffles me that a team that has been incompetent on the floor and in the draft is taking back draft picks. Let me tell you something. If I'm making this kind of move, I need to get a player that I know that's going to ball. So, like, you hearing names being thrown around like Jimmy Butler or Paul George. Those are the type of names you're supposed to get in return when you move a player of DeMarcus Cousins' talent. Not 1 first-round pick and 3 second-round picks for a team that can't draft well anyway.
But Langston Galloway, Jalen. But Tyreek Evans, Jalen.
And here's another thing. Hill, as you mentioned, nice young prospect. You think Vlade Divac listened to a lot of De La Soul and really got excited about Buddy? Like my buddy.
That is the analysis that you will get when you listen to Jalen Jacoby on ESPN Radio. Now, Jalen, correct me if I'm wrong. The trade deadline is Thursday, right?
Yep.
And Boogie Cousins has another year on his contract, right?
Yep.
So I ask these questions because this looks like one of two things. This type of deal happens in one of two scenarios. One scenario, he already told us that he's not re-signing. It's this last year of the contract. He already told us he's not re-signing. So let's try to get something back before he just leaves for nothing. That's one scenario, which is not the scenario here because he has a whole nother year in his deal. And this is right before the deadline. We've already decided that we're going to do it. We kind of are pot committed to doing it. So let's just see what we can do. And the market's not that good for him. So let's just get whatever deal we can get done right before the deadline. How does this happen now?
Let me tell you how this happens now. When you have an inept franchise who doesn't understand the value of a player they get a chance to see every day. They truly miscalculated the value of a guy that you should be getting an all-star level performer in return to play in your next basketball game. Like, forget some draft picks. Like, don't even call me unless the guy played in this year's All-Star game or maybe last year's. Like, that's where the conversation starts.
Rising Stars? Buddy Hield Rising Stars game? Maybe that's what
No. And here's if I'm an owner why I don't want draft picks. Since they took Boogie in the draft, let me tell you some of the people that they've taken in the first and second round. Bismack Biyombo, who just got a new contract, by the way, and is playing basketball in Orlando. Tyler Honeycutt, who's out of the league. Orlando Johnson, out of the league. Thomas Robinson, not sure if he's out of the league.
He's in the league.
Ray McCallum, that's my little brother. Ben McLemore, but they took him 7th. Nick Stauskas, U of M fan. He's in Philly, and you know what happens if you don't make it in Philly. Willie Cauley-Stein, who's on the roster now. You ever heard of Isaiah Cousins?
That's Boogie Cousins' little cousin?
No.
I just don't understand how a team can trade an all-NBA performer and not get a player that was in last year or this year's All-Star game. Like, it's just really baffling to me. I can't explain this.
It's hard to explain because especially now, like the trade deadline isn't for 3 days. And it does, like there were some reports that it just kind of feels like Vivek Ranadive said, we're trading him by the end of the night. I've got some plans for President's Day. I'm going on vacation. I don't want to think about this next week. We have to trade him right now. What do you got, Vlade? And Vlade was like, oh, man, Danny won't text me back. Danny Ainge won't text me back. The Lakers won't give up Ingram. Like, I guess I got this package from the Pelicans, and the boss man said he wants to see something, and he brought it in the office. And the boss man said, Buddy Hield, he's one of the best crotch grabbers in the league. We need that dude on the team.
How about that's very nice. How about this? You remember when the league vetoed a move for the Pelicans that
I do.
Stopped Chris Paul from going to the Lakers?
I do.
This is payback, New Orleans. The league owed you this one. Y'all even now.
So let's talk X's and O's a little bit. You now have the 2 best big men in a game which is shifting towards having one big man. And it looks like if you're Alvin Gentry, when you take the job, you say, I've got Anthony Davis. Even though he doesn't want to, I'm going to make him into a center. And I'm going to surround him with some shooters and some slashers, do a lot of pick and rolls, maybe pick and roll and kick, and that's going to be our offense. And right now, he's got the best post-up player in the game. Marc Gasol could be a consideration, but whatever. What do you do with offense from an X's and O's standpoint if you're the New Orleans Pelicans?
You do what I've said big men should be able to do in the era of small ball, which some are able to take advantage of. You mentioned Marc Gasol. Karl Anthony Towns comes to mind. As players that when they get a smaller guy on them, can actually turn around, punish them, and score.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do. You play high percentage basketball. So now all of a sudden, when you're playing against teams that want to play a guy that was a small forward in high school and college, now he's a power forward in the NBA, you punish him.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you do.
There is one of those two guys. They can look at it before they even take the floor. In the locker room, you can look at the opposing team's roster and say, this is either going to be a Boogie night or a Davis night.
Yes.
And you before you even take the floor and see anybody shoot and see how people are feeling, like they are a walking matchup problem. When they show up to a gym or someone else shows up to their gym, there's already a matchup problem.
And also, too, let's not underestimate Alvin Gentry in this dynamic.
Okay.
He did a terrific job leading the Clippers offense a few years ago when it was the number one rated in the league.
Oh, where'd he go next?
He went to Golden State where they followed that up.
Mm-hmm.
He got the head job in New Orleans, as you mentioned, so he could coach Anthony Davis. Now you add DeMarcus Cousins. Both of these guys can dribble, pass, and shoot. Anthony Davis is a terrific rim protector, defender, also gets steals. Boogie Cousins needs to work defensively.
He does.
Especially on his pick-and-roll defense.
Can't switch.
But this is why you can play him at the 5. Let me look at some of the teams that they have to face that he can play against their 5. San Antonio, he can play against the Marcus Aldridge late games or Pau Gasol.
He would love to.
How about the Rockets? He can play against Clint Capella late in games. Mm-hmm. How about the Clippers? He can play against DeAndre Jordan late in games.
But then, see, the Clippers, you could see DeAndre being a good matchup, maybe not letting Boogie do exactly what he wants. But then you look at Anthony Davis and you say, "Ooh, Blake Griffin's going to have a tough time. He's going to have a tough time stopping Anthony Davis."
But here's where it gets tricky, my friend.
It gets tricky.
Here's where the bait and switch happens. You so eloquently put it. And you did a great job on SportsCenter today. You look handsome.
Thank you very much. I learned from the best. I learned from the best. Jalen Rose gives me some pointers. Learn from the best.
And on Sports Nation. Killing it, my brother. Yep. But this is where it gets tricky. And you just talked about matchup nightmares, right? Didn't you just say we're going to be able to look at who we're going to punish?
Mm-hmm.
When you watch the Clippers play basketball, especially against the good teams, Golden State comes to mind, they don't finish games with DeAndre and Blake on the floor.
But
Jacoby.
now you have to.
They now finish games with Redick, CP3, Jamal.
And push everybody up a spot.
Okay, which means Blake is going to be playing the 5, which means
Paul Pierce is covering Anthony Davis.
whoever's playing the floor, Bamute, Wesley Johnson.
Paul Pierce will check himself out. He's just like, no, coach. Nope.
That's going to be the person that's getting punished, sir.
So, Boogie Cousins was dealt to the Pelicans. I'm looking at the standings. The Pelicans are behind the Nuggets, the Kings, and the Trailblazers in the hunt for the 8th spot. And they're only a half game above the Dallas Mavericks for the 8th spot. Portland can make a run. Denver can solidify their spot. Sacramento's going to fall to the bottom. Why are you so sure that this team will be in the playoffs?
There's 25 games remaining approximately for each NBA team. 2 of these teams that you just mentioned, you could take out of the mix. Do you actually think the Sacramento Kings are in playoff contention?
They're actively trying to lose. Games.
So take them out of the conversation.
Okay.
And let's not mention them again unless we're talking about how they got fleeced for Boogie. We're not even talking about their team.
That's fair.
The Portland Trailblazers, didn't they just trade Plumlee?
They did.
Okay. I like Jokic and Plumlee in Denver.
So do I.
I keep stressing that.
We talk about
for
these
a lot of
matchups.
people who don't intimately watch the league. Will Barton is playing good basketball.
But Jalen,
I like what I'm seeing.
We talk about the matchups when they walk into an arena. When the Pelicans play the Nuggets, you can see that working. Plumlee on Davis, Jokic on Boogie.
That's why when you ask me who do they have to wrestle with for the 8th spot, it's not the Kings, it's not the Blazers, it's not the Mavs. It's the Nuggets. And here's the wild card that nobody's mentioning. Holiday. They didn't have to give up Drew in this deal.
He's so happy. Drew Holiday is so happy today. Yeah. He's like, wait a second. Everyone's going to be sucked into the middle of the floor? Yes. And I can run a pick and roll with Anthony Davis, and if that doesn't work out, I can just dump it in the post to Boogie Cousins. I love this.
I really like a lot of young 4 or 5 tandems that are happening in the league that don't get discussed a lot. We know about the old tandems like Gasol and Zebo or DJ and Blake.
But they are old.
But Jokic and Plumlee.
I love that.
In Utah, they got a few bigs with Gobert, Favors, and Lyles.
Mm-hmm.
And now this one with Boogie and Davis, it creates amazing intrigue. And here's also where the Western Conference has played better basketball these last few years. They have a level of balance that doesn't take place in the East. You notice all of those teams that I mentioned that have that are in the West?
Yeah.
If you look in the East, you have Love, but then you have Tristan, who's not an offensive player, but they both get maximum dollars for their roles. In Boston, they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do at the 5. You have Al Horford, but then you got Kelly Olynyk. Also in Washington, you have Gortat to go with Morris. And then in Toronto, you have Serge Ibaka to go with Valanciunas. So a lot of 4 or 5 combinations happening around the league that are budding that helps the game really be more exciting.
Matt Barnes is going to be dropped. Why would the Kings do this? It's not exactly like their roster is so good that they don't have a spot for Matt Barnes.
Well, he and Boogie were a package deal. Yep. You've seen whether it was in the locker room in Philly with the Hennessy bottle.
Package store deal?
You could see when altercations happened, they were ride or die for one another.
I cracked myself up.
So based on that, not only will they release Barnes, don't be surprised and make sure you know it's broken news if and when he signs up with the New Orleans Pelicans.
And we putting it on wax.
So let's say the Kings do get into the 8th spot. Who's going to be the number 1 seed?
The Golden State Warriors.
And if you remember just 2 years ago, the Pelicans played the Warriors. I think it was just a 5-game series, but they played them pretty tough. Steph had to hit a corner 3 over
Anthony Davis.
You know, it wasn't a close series, but they played them pretty tough. And if you are the Warriors, it just makes your road through the Western Conference that much harder to have this front court tandem to deal with in the first round. You play so hard to get that number 1 spot, to get that home court advantage throughout. And then you look, and you're playing the Pelicans in the first round. Could the Pelicans be a threat to upset the Warriors?
No.
Okay.
Who did Boogie Cousins get tangled up with recently when they played against the Warriors? Draymond Green.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
So what's going to happen late in basketball games, and here's the rub the opposite way, because I talked about how they're going to be able to punish teams. The rub the opposite way is Draymond Green, if he can keep himself emotionally invested and not get frustrated by those 2 guys that are 5 and 6 inches taller than him and have crazy wingspans over him when they're trying to post him up consistently. And the other guy is, can Kevin Durant put so many buckets up on one of them that he dominates the matchup while they're trying to guard him on the other end? That's going to be the intrigue, because Zaza Pachulia, he's going to start the game, but he won't finish.
No, Zaza Pachulia, he's not going to finish the game.
Nope.
I like this because for every zig, there's a zag. You know, it's just like fashion. Oh, we're all wearing skinny jeans, and now everyone's wearing baggy jeans. It's just going to go back and forth forever. And this is the league has gotten smaller. The pace and space, the focus on the 3-point shot, and the center being able to spread the floor. But this could be an antidote. I don't think it'll happen this year. But if these two stay on the same team, which they could, and you build a better core around them, it could be a move back towards the sort of Twin Towers, let's post it up type of thing.
It doesn't move back to that era because these are unique talents. These are the only 2 guys that averaged 20 and 10 the past 4 or 5 years. And they were doing it on teams, one in the Pelicans that sniffed the playoffs, another one on the Kings that I ain't going to talk about them unless I'm talking about them getting fleeced for Boogie. So now you pair those former Kentucky alums up on the same team at the same time. It does pose a problem. But here's also what the Kings did for whatever it's worth. And I love the company that we work for. And you might want to consider taking this out after I say it.
Just don't say but, Jalen. Just don't. Whatever you're about to say, just don't. Can we move on? Just don't. Just don't.
I saw on the ticker of the company that I love, that I work for.
Jalen.
It says that DeMarcus could have gotten $209 million if he stayed with the Kings.
Yep.
Good Lord, that's a lot of money.
And then in the next sentence it says, because he got traded to the Pelicans, he's only going to get $179.
What?
Who typed that?
Hold on a second, Jalen, because that is legitimate. You always say, go for the money. Oh, he's going to play wherever the most money is. Oh, it's all about the money. Oh, he's getting $200 million. Where do I sign? You always say that. And in this deal, he could have effectively lost about $30 million. Why is that a problem?
You never put only in front of $179 million, David.
Okay, let's take out the word only then. But
thank you.
Let's take out the word only. All right, that's very fair. That's very fair.
That's all I'm saying.
That's very fair. But my question to you is, does Boogie care about that? Like, is that something? Is that like one of those but things? Like when his agent pulls him aside and says, because of the CBA and like the bird rights and all these other things, you're not going to be able to get over $200 million like we were talking about with the Kings. And what is Boogie's reaction to that?
That's why I made sure I brought it up, because in the Kings' own way, they tried to stick it to Boogie. Because not only did they trade him during AllStar weekend, and you get the news while you're in New Orleans basically about to do the post-game conference, they also cost you $30 million, and you got to digest that real fast.
Well, if you watch the clip of Boogie Cousins allegedly learning that he was traded to the Pelicans, do you know what's on his face, Jalen? A big, huge smile. We'll get back to Boogie, but there's a lot that happened this All-Star weekend. Of course, Jalen and I both watched every single second of it. But let's start with the actual All-Star game. And everyone's talking about the alley-oop between KD and Russell Westbrook. Everyone's talking about the alley-oop between KD and Russell Westbrook. I want to break down Russell Westbrook's thoughts as he makes that pass. KD's back is to the basket, and he's running away from the basket. KD's not in a position to score right there. And then the second he sees KD gets the ball, what does Russell Westbrook do? Oh, I got to make a cut. Give me that back. I feel like Russell Westbrook made KD pass him the ball. Your thoughts, Mr. Rose?
That was one of those things where they played together 7 or 8 seasons, practice and in games. Mm-hmm. The first duo I remember in the modern day era to have 50 and 40 in the same game, which is stupid.
Ugh.
Which is why I personally hated to see that combination not be able to play together going forward. So to me, that was just a level of familiarity. And also, it's the All-Star game. Wasn't it 150 dunks? Like, I got 5 dunks yesterday.
My favorite part of the All-Star game was in pregame when everybody on the Western Conference team was shooting at one hoop. Russell Westbrook had to go shoot at the other hoop. I love it so much. Well, he didn't want to have to pass to KD, even in shoot-around. He didn't want to have to pass to KD. He just wanted to be alone. It made me so happy. I love how Russell Westbrook has owned this persona. Like, people talk about Kevin Durant being the villain. Russell Westbrook is the villain. Like, he's the one who's not – Kevin Durant is ready to give him a pound and a hug right at half court and dead the whole thing. Russell Westbrook is the one who is keeping this going. Do you agree?
He's not keeping it going. It's the reality that he's facing every day, Jacoby, that Kevin Durant looked at the organization who put a championship-level team around him, made it to the Western Conference Finals for the last 6 years, despite injury to key parts, despite losing James Harden, while Russell Westbrook became an All-NBA performer, while KD became an MVP, looked over at Russell and thanked him with tears in his eyes for making him a better player. And then you look at all of those people and say, I can't win a chip here. I need to go to the team that won 73 games. You will feel some type of way. And Russell should own it, not only for himself, but he owes that to the Thunder fans and the organization now as the face of the franchise.
Did LeBron James use the first half to remind everybody that he's the best player in the world?
I guess if you could call it that. I mean, uncontested layups and dunks. There were around 80 uncontested layups and dunks. It was all dunks or threes and maybe like 7 mid-range shots.
But what do you want? You sound like you're mad at this. Are you old man Jalen now? Are you going old man Jalen? What did you think of the competition in the All-Star game?
I can appreciate the artistry of watching terrific athletes perform and backwards dunks and double pump dunks and alley-oop passes and the grace that comes with the game. But for a level of intrigue, there was none.
For me, it's impressive when you throw the ball off the backboard and just catch it and put it back in, or catch it to get a dunk. But what's impressive about it is that you have fooled the defender into thinking that you're taking a shot, or you've sort of left them on an island and sort of like made a fool out of them. But if there is no defender that's putting any effort towards stopping you, it really devalues the athleticism that I see in front of me. Like, it gets a little boring. Like, Giannis had a bunch of great dunks. There were better dunks than there were during the dunk contest, which we'll talk about later. But if there is no defender even trying to stop you, it makes it a little less special to me. But you know what is special? When LeBron pulled up from half court. Come on, Jalen. Come on, old man Jalen. Come on, old man Jalen. Even you like that.
I did like it.
I liked it a lot.
LeBron been shooting the ball well lately.
Except when he pulled up from half court again, he didn't really get his feet set. He didn't really seem like he was trying that hard. What conversation happens? I've never been in the locker room. I know you've never been in the All-Star locker room. Sorry about that. But what? I had to.
I love you.
I had to. What conversation
I
happens?
actually have been in the locker room. I just didn't have on a uniform.
Yeah, you're just getting everybody a pound, telling them good luck.
I was in there stealing somebody else's.
What conversation happens between Boogie and Steve Kerr that means he only plays 2 minutes? Like, how's that go?
The conversation is, I hear I'm getting traded.
I don't want
That
to
comes down from
mess
the
this
league.
up. I don't want to mess this up at all.
Yeah, that's a league thing. That's not on them.
That's not Boogie. So someone, the commissioner, one of the commissioner's cronies, comes in and is just like, look, we need this deal to go through.
Yep.
We've already proved it. We filled out all the paperwork. We feel like this is best for both teams and best for the league. So let's not mess this up by having Boogie twist an ankle.
Correct.
I like it. Why does Steph Curry wear a headband?
Just to be different.
I just feel like if, you know what, Klay's there, Draymond's there, KD's there, one of them needs to pull him aside and be like, Steph, that makes you look like you're 13 years old. Like, you already look like you're 20, but with the headband on, you look like you're 13. Yep. Like, someone needs to tell him that. I blame the other Warriors on the team. I blame Steve Kerr. I blame that dude with the gray hair and the gray beard that shoots with them all the time. I just feel like someone needs to be like, Steph, this is not a good look for you.
You're just trying to have fun with it. Play so much basketball. It's the All-Star game. Just doing something different. I remember when I played in the McDonald's High School All-American game. One of my biggest regrets, if you look back at the picture, they gave us some wristbands. I was like, these wristbands is cold. They were long. Never wore wristbands in high school, in the summer league, in AAU, no other time.
It was those like 4-inch cuff ones that were hot for a while. Yeah, not regular wristbands, not like 1.5 inches. These are the big ones that go up half your arm.
Man,
I remember those.
I decided that I was going to wear some wristbands. I couldn't make a shot to save my life. I already had on a T-shirt under my jersey with those big, heavy wristbands on.
Is that you, number 41 here?
Yeah, 42 was taken.
Oh, wow. First of all, why are you number 41?
My high school number was 42. My best friend, Michael Hamilton, rest in peace, I wanted 32 in high school, but he took it because I wanted the Magic's number. So I took the next best thing, 42, because when you go to a public school, the bigger the number, the bigger the jersey.
Yup. All those wristbands, everyone's got on a big white wristband. Oh, Jalen.
I shot a brick on the right side one time, too. I actually got the offensive rebound and shot it up, scored it.
What did you make of Giannis Antetokounmpo's performance?
No surprises. In those type of games, the long, athletic players that can dribble, pass, and shoot and catch lobs, they're going to get all of the opportunities. Mm-hmm. That's why Anthony Davis had 35 dunks.
I feel like, and they should, the Western Conference players are like, let's get Anthony Davis. Let's get him this MVP. Let's look for him. And only Russell Westbrook was going for his. I feel like Russell Westbrook didn't get that memo. He's like, look for what? What are you talking about? I'm shooting these threes.
No doubt.
I mean, again, like there's a lot of news breaking in the NBA today. I don't know if this is confirmed. I just saw it on my phone. I just saw a report that John Legend is still performing the halftime show at the All-Star game. Still performing. The lights are off in the Smoothie King Arena. They cut out the electricity. It's just him with his acoustic piano just rocking his little falsetto. Do you think that's true?
I like John Legend's performance. I love the Roots performance. DMC and so many other guests. That was fly.
Yep. Both of them I found to be whack.
What?
I really did. I can't lie.
What?
And you're just being nice. That's why I'm here.
So where does the Pelicans bandwagon start and end for all of the people to try to act like they represent for the team, but they haven't been to a game, but now all of a sudden they showing up at the games and showing up with the garb because they got Boogie? How does that work?
Well, Jalen, you're asking the wrong person because I transfer from bandwagon to bandwagon so many times. They're considering changing my Metro card access. I just go bandwagon to bandwagon.
That's why I ask you. That's why I ask
But
you.
like, can we just get a little bit real for a second? Okay, you got Boogie and you got Anthony Davis. Last time I checked, you still had to put 5 players on the floor, and like Solomon Hill,
He's all right, but he's not real.
H1 Moore.
He's all right, but he's not real.
You know, not exactly the greatest backcourt in the league, Mr. Rose. You don't want to go negative?
No,
Are you looking at your phone?
I'm just trying to figure how it works.
Your phone?
The bandwagon.
No.
Why you always lying?
Put the phone down. Put the phone down.
Why you always lying?
Put the phone down.
See, Red wouldn't put "Why You Always Lying" for you when you said that you always think about what you would do on a deserted island.
Because I do. You don't know what I think about. You're not in my brain. But I do know when you're on your phone. On a nationally syndicated radio show. Just disrespecting the opportunity, the airwaves that you've been given.
I see people on TV live on their phone.
Saturday night is the skills competition and the three-point contest, and then the grand finale, the dunk contest. I would say that they went 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts, each on 3 pitches.
Yep.
Because I don't even watch the skills competition. Like, I don't even turn my head towards it. It's on in my house. I don't even turn my head towards it. But then it's time for the three-point contest. I've seen some great performances in the three-point contest. And when I look at the three-point contest, here's what I'm looking for. Jaw-dropping consecutive three-pointers made where even the other competitors are in awe. Did that happen this year?
No.
What I saw were some good shooting, but I also saw like 4 or 5 misses in a row sometimes. It just sort of seemed like maybe New Orleans wasn't the right place to put the All-Star game because everybody stayed out until 8 in the morning. That's kind of what it felt like when I watched the three-point contest. Your thoughts?
So here's the dynamic that's gotten lost. Congratulations to Porzingis winning the skills competition.
Wait a second.
Eric Gordon winning the three-point competition.
You get no props from me for winning this game.
And my little brother Glenn Robinson III, as I predicted on this program, winning the dunk contest. You can't say his dunk wasn't phenomenal. When the last time you see somebody jump over other adults, take the basketball between their legs and dunk it backwards? Like, his head was at the rim. I don't care who's doing it. Like, that was crazy.
That was crazy. That was a great dunk. However, it was not a great dunk contest, and his performance was 4 dunks, one of which was great.
The three-point competition is excluded to me when I see Nick Young. Like, as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh.
We're not taking this serious, are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not taking this serious.
We're not taking this serious.
So I won't even talk about that competition. Okay. Now, the dunk contest, here's what happened. When players needed to promote the league, almost like when MCs needed to promote rap music, you did more blue-collar work. Your content was different. Your stage show was different. You had to do more appearances. You had to do more to honor your trade because you were trying to build longevity in 2 things that people didn't think would last: rap music and the NBA, for a lot of you youngsters that don't realize. What then happened is the players that are competing in the All-Star game on Sunday stop competing in the dunk contest on Saturday.
Yep.
That's truly what happened. If said LeBron James would have did the same dunk Glenn Robinson III would have done, oh, man.
Iconic.
It would be iconic in the eyes of so many people. But when the best players, a la KD did to OKC, say, I would rather not participate in the dunk contest for my personal reasons, that has all of us saying, well, it may not be all of that. So you go into it expecting not necessarily to be wowed by what you're going to see because the elite name players aren't participating. And that's the disconnect that is taking place. Versus when I grew up loving the game, my favorite players, Dr. J, Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, Vince Carter, they all participated and then played in the game on Sunday.
I understand that, Jalen. And it's hard for me to truly disagree with that because we all know that the superstars are the things that made those iconic memories for us, for people our age growing up. But let me throw this out there. I loved last year's dunk contest, and it was mainly a face-off between Levine and Gordon. Those aren't iconic superstars. You know, those aren't gonna be people that end up, you know, in the Hall of Fame. At least it doesn't seem like that at this point. However, it was a great show. The athleticism on display, the tit for tat, the back and forth, the one-upsmanship of it. It sort of seemed like they were thinking of new dunks on the fly as they got into extra rounds. That was exciting to me. That was left a lasting memory on me thinking this dunk contest thing is not dead. It is now flourishing. However, when Aaron Gordon comes out and he's got a fake remote control and there's a drone.
I knew you loved that,
floating
didn't you?
out there.
You loved it even more during NFL skills.
And he got a fake remote control. Like he's controlling the thing, and he hands it to the mascot. Like come on now. Like, first of all, I don't believe you. You need more people. Don't lie to me. I don't like being lied to. You're not controlling that drone, dude. Okay. And then you know the drone. You've practiced this before, and it takes you 4 tries to get it done. And then after you finally do it, you're gonna shrug your shoulders and be like, I'm sorry. And then after the dunk contest, you have the nerve to say, it takes a lot out of you when you take it as seriously as I do. What? What are you talking about? It takes a lot out of you when you take it as seriously as I do. How much did it take out of you to practice a drone dropping a basketball and then you dunking it? That takes a lot out of you. It's not exactly like you're climbing Mount Everest over here, Aaron Gordon. You dunked the ball twice. It doesn't take that much out of you.
But also, to me, a lot of what you're saying takes away from your initial point because Aaron Gordon, didn't he participate last year as well?
Yes.
Okay, and didn't you feel like that was a great dunk contest?
Yes.
It was going to be back. And
yes. That's
everybody
exactly how I
treated
felt.
Aaron Gordon like he won. That was the problem.
No, it wasn't. He was a better dunker last year.
I seen him on Sports Centers at 6. They was treating him like he won last year.
He did the same dunk as last year, except without the mascot. Like I found it so frustrating, Jalen. Didn't you watch that dunk contest? Just kind of just going like this at the TV. Poof. You know, did you just watch the whole time, just being like, just waving your hand at the TV?
I had a personal interest because I closely follow the journey of Glenn Robinson III and understand what he's endured on and off the court through Michigan, trying to find a home in the league. I'm happy that my basketball stamp, Larry Bird, took a chance on him in Indiana. Hopefully he's found a home there, and I was glad to see him raise the trophy.
Boring dunk contest. We all know Boogie Cousins is on the Pelicans. We've broken that down. We all know what happened at the AllStar game, what happened to all AllStar weekend, but that's not everything that is happening in sports. A couple things we need to catch up on, Mr. Rose. Number one, there's been a new video from what's being called the Darrelle Revis incident. It is a video of 2 young men unconscious on the floor. Someone in the background either recording the video or close to the recording device, which is assuming is a phone, boasting about having knocked those young men out. That video is posted on TMZ. By now you know the details. Darrelle Revis was out and about late or early one morning in the outskirts of Pittsburgh. And there was an altercation, and it ended up in a violent incident. Revis's lawyers are saying that is not Revis on the recording boasting about the knockouts, and that in due time, via clothing and voice recognition, we will prove that that is not Revis. Does this new video change your view of the incident?
No, my view still basically acknowledges that there may have been a physical altercation. I'm not sure if when those gentlemen ended up on the ground, it was because they were punched by Darrell himself, maybe by someone who was there to represent or protect his best interest, especially at 2 in the morning. But what I will say is if the incident started because the said individuals acknowledged that they were trying to take pictures and or video of Mr. Revis and he didn't want them to do that, you would think that they would have more concrete video of him because that's what started the altercation in the first place.
The police have reviewed the video and discussion, and they've confirmed that it was Revis and that they were sort of like following Revis, but there was no video of the actual incident. But I'm glad you bring this up because it does just sort of, in two ways, shows the way that our cell phone cameras have changed our society. Allegedly, this incident starts because Revis is being videoed against his will, and the incident develops where someone is videoing themselves after committing a crime, boasting about the crime, and now the video is on the internet. What? If there is a lesson from all this, put your phone down. Just put your phone down.
Yep.
Jalen Rose, a very simple question for you. Why is Kyrie Irving telling everybody that he thinks the world is flat? Is he trolling us, or does he really believe the world is flat? Which I'm totally fine with, by the way. What do you think?
Well, I appreciate all of those that want to give him a pass by saying he was trolling us. The bottom line, he misspoke. And we all say things that are wrong and or we probably don't mean. It was one of those things that he said, and then when he realized how ridiculous it sounded and how it went viral so fast it became a conversation piece, he got a chance to retract that statement.
But he didn't really retract it, Jalen. He kind of doubled down on it. You know, and here's the thing about that. I'm giving him a pass, not because it was a mistake, but because I think everybody listening to this has held some unconventional beliefs that are just against what is widely accepted as fact in society, whether they are as big as, you know, the planet that we're on and the shape of it, or just as small as little tiny things that people don't believe. You know, and I think that you should allow others the freedom to have their crazy beliefs because that is the spice that makes our dish tasty here as a species. You know what I mean?
So I like when you get introspective and deep.
Yeah.
You know, I need to call Bob Lee for this next question.
Get Bob Lee out here.
So, Jacoby, that sounds like really something that was so personal and near and dear to your heart. So what is your thing that's so personal to you that may be a different belief that we don't realize or maybe unconventional to the masses?
I was afraid you were going to ask that, Mr. Rose, because mine makes me look just as dumb as Kyrie Irving. And I'm just going to say, I'm going to take religion out of this completely. I believe that evolution was a part of how we got here, but it's not the whole story. That's all I have to say. I think evolution is a factor.
What?
But it's not the whole story.
What does that mean? What? You got to at least give us a little more clarity. I don't know what that means, sir. Is this a tease?
There's often a widely accepted theory that there was this one sort of organism, like one little tiny little amoeba that was touched with life, and then that amoeba on a barren planet sort of developed into all that we see before us now. And it's not just a theory. Like, science pretty much bears this out. However, this earth is just so beautiful, and there's certain things that happen in life that are just so magical that I feel like, man, maybe this isn't the whole story. That's all.
Are you going Nat Geo on us?
A little bit. Planet Earth 2 just came out last night. Big shout out to Planet Earth 2. I know you would like to watch Planet Earth 2.
Yeah, much as I like watching Star Wars.
Let's move in before I lose more respect from our audience. You would like Planet Earth too, though, for real. Jimmy Fredette scored 73 points in China. Okay? What? 73 points. I don't care where you're playing. If there's a referee and a scoreboard and you score 73, you've got something. Is this some sort of a maybe kind of indication that he could get picked up by a playoff team after the Chinese season is over?
Maybe he can get picked up by the Pelicans.
He was already on the Pelicans. They do need some help in the backcourt. We'll see. Will Jimmy Butler be traded?
I say no.
Will Paul George be traded?
I say definitely no.
Will Carmelo Anthony be traded?
Absolutely not.
I'm
No trade clause.
not taking any of those off the board. Will the Celtics make a move?
The Celtics been holding on to those assets for a few years.
At some point, he has to do something, don't you think?
He'll end up with Jahlil Okafor. That's going to be the move. Jahlil of Boston.
Jahlil to Boston? You hear the report that the Pelicans put together a very similar package for Jahlil Okafor as they did for the one that they got Boogie Cousins for? Would you rather have Boogie Cousins on your team or Jahlil Okafor?
Is that a trick question?
Yes, it's not a real question.
Okay, cool.
Well, Emmanuel Sanders is in a bit of a sticky divorce situation. His wife, former wife, Gabriella Sanders, has some allegations about some quote-unquote atrocities that he performed while they were together. You know, things like buying side pieces, thousands of dollars worth of gifts. But there's also this. She claims that Emmanuel Sanders lied to the teams, lied to his team, the Broncos, saying that he had to be in Houston for the birth of their child, but he actually went out partying. What? What's your reaction when you hear this?
That stinks, especially if they can prove that it's true. And you could clearly rewind the tape if you're the team and go back to acknowledge if that happened or not. And if that did happen, that's going to be a bad look for him. And it's unfortunate that their situation is playing out for public consumption this way, but that's what happens when you cheat on your mate. So I can't necessarily say I feel bad for him.
Can't do that.
But I do feel bad for Larsa and Scottie Pippen. Future, leave him alone.
Leave him alone, Future. Yep. Let him live. Let him live, man. One quick thing. If you're going to lie, don't lie about a childbirth. You know, we could easily check up. It's almost like he forgot they keep records of when human beings are born in hospitals. Like that is meticulously recorded, Mr. Sanders. Meticulously. Yep. 985-80 Jalen. You call in. You leave us voicemails. You tell us who you are and where you're from. We'll respond to your questions. It's our favorite new segment because we get to hear from you, our listeners. Let's listen to the first voicemail.
Yo, what up? I'll breathe a little bit. I'm on a treadmill. Happy President's Day. Shout out to JFK. And shout out to President Truman. Just random presidents, you know. Jalen, what's up with Detroit basketball? I thought they was going to make a trade. Can you give me some inside info on a possible trade? Because if they make the right move, Cleveland can be had. And that's the upset. And you Harlem shaking, Detroit shaking, all of that. All right.
Thank you for the call. Sounds like a fellow Michigander, even though he never said his name or where he's from.
He's on a treadmill, though.
He was on a treadmill. The only person on this program that can relate to that is the one that runs 17 miles and the one that watches. Yep. I'm the latter.
Mm-hmm.
He would know in Detroit, we respectfully don't do the Harlem Shake. We do the Earl Flynn. We do the Icewood. We do other multiple things. Also, when he was shouting out presidents on President's Day.
I like that he just went random presidents.
JFK, I have a picture, the classic one, that fatal one of him with his lovely bride in the back seat of the drop top before he was unfortunately murdered.
It's an odd picture to have.
Truman. He mentioned him.
Mm-hmm. I'll hit you with some more presidents.
He didn't mention Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill.
Didn't mention Tubman 20s at all.
And he wanted to know about Detroit basketball. Now, regardless of who Detroit trades for, unless it was like Boogie and Anthony Davis, they're not going to beat the Cavs this year in the playoffs.
Not going to be able to do it.
I think they will be in. And the trade deadline isn't till Thursday, so they still have time to make a move.
They have time to make a move, but there's not too many moves they can make that would really make them better. I don't think Jimmy Butler is going to be there. And I don't think Paul George is going to the Pistons. I don't think there's going to be a game-changing move made by the Pistons. However, I would not be surprised if Reggie Jackson ended up on another team. Thank you so much for the call. I love that you called from the treadmill. The treadmill does get boring, and I get it. Also, big shout out to James K. Polk, our 11th president.
Shout out to Barack Obama. The only president both you and I met.
Yep. Let's listen to the next voicemail.
What up, though, Jalen and Jacoby? It's Josh calling from Detroit, and I had a quick question for you guys. If you were stranded on a desert island and you can only listen to one song for the rest of your life, what would it be? I think mine would be It Was a Good Day by Ice Cube. Thanks for giving the people what they want and keep getting them checks.
Okay. A couple things. Number one, Josh definitely on that Straight Talk Wireless because his voice was crispy. Yep. I like the sound quality that Josh had. Josh is on it. He's got a different wireless plan than the dude who was on the treadmill. Yep. And I think about this desert island thing a lot, Jalen. And I think everybody gets this answer wrong.
You do?
Yeah.
Hold on. Hit the brakes. What? You think about what a lot?
I think about the desert island question a lot because a lot of people
That's a lie.
Just Jalen. Okay, fine. I think about it relatively more, and I think about it differently than other people because other people think, oh, desert island, like what 3 movies would you bring or whatever? Oh, desert island, like who would you want to be with? Blah 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 blah. I think about it actually practically.
Ain't no movie theater on a desert island, I don't think.
Yeah, it's a clamshell, DVD clamshell, and I think about literal clamshell. I think about the desert island question a little bit more functionally, a little bit more practical than others. And one thing you don't want, whatever song this is, you're gonna want it to turn off after about 4 days, right? If you just listen to one song on a loop, it's gonna drive you crazy. Yep. So I'm going with something like a half an hour classical, calming, like Mozart type of a vibe. I'm not listening to Ice Cube on a loop for eternity. So now you can give your wrong answer.
I have 2. Whitehead and McFadden, Ain't No Stopping Us Now. And Phil Collins, In the Air.
First of all, Whitehead and McFadden, isn't that the Patriots backfield from 3 years ago? No? Let's listen to the next voicemail. Thanks for the call, Josh.
What's up, Jacoby? What's up, Jalen? Question for you. How many trades have gone down on AllStar weekend where the team receiving the star is actually hosting the AllStar games? I don't know. I found it pretty crazy. I'm not going to say give the people what they want because that's corny. Not the line, but for me to say it. All right. Thanks.
Oh, there's a lot to chew on there, Jalen. There's a lot to chew on there. Yep. I want to start with the end, okay? He says, I'm not going to say give the people what they want because that's corny. And both me and you are like, what? Did you just call our line and call us corny?
Yeah, that's what
But then he qualified it by being like, because it's corny for me to say, not for you. And it's like, oh, okay, I feel the same way about what up, though. Like, I just feel corny when I say it. It doesn't feel comfortable coming out of my mouth. I still do it from time to time. But it just doesn't feel right. It's like the word lit. It doesn't feel right coming out of my mouth. So I understand what he was getting at. Secondly, don't ask us to do research. No. You know what? I'm sure in the history of the NBA, there has been a team that hosted the All-Star game but also got an All-Star. But that means we got to do research. I'm not doing any research. No.
You know, it's like coming in my house and not wiping your feet on the rug. Like they were saying Goody Mob song. That's kind of what I feel about that call.
I don't think it's that bad. I think it was just it was at the end. He didn't really have it scripted out. It just, caught him a little off guard how it came out.
And how about this? We still showed him love.
Of course. If you take the time out to call our voicemail line and leave a voicemail, we got love for you. Yep. Even if you sneak diss us. Yep. Let's listen to the next voicemail.
What up, though? Hey, guys, it's Brady calling from Morristown. Guys, I got a question for both of you. Which rapper or rap group from the 80s or early 90s would you want to hear release an album today? Me personally, I'd like to hear Eric B. and Rakim, since it's been a long time since they left us with some dope rhymes to step to. Keep getting in check.
Oh, this is interesting. What rapper or rap group from the late 80s or early 90s would you want to hear from again?
This is so easy for me.
It's not for me.
So easy for me. I got to hear more Dre and Snoop.
But they're still coming out with so much music, Jalen.
When the last time Dre came out with an album?
You know what? Do you know why that answer makes me feel good, Jalen? Do you know why that answer makes me feel good? Because it's not just me whose questions that you misinterpret and don't really answer. It's also the people that call on voicemail. That's why it makes me feel good. You don't just have a bias against me. You have a bias against answering questions. It makes me feel better. Thank you so much for that call because it made me feel better.
And big shout to Uncle Charles Oakley, who joins the Big Three.
Mm-hmm.
Going to serve as a player coach.
So let's talk about that for a second. I get the coach part, but player?
You don't think he could give a few fouls?
I mean, a lot of 3-on-3 basketball is abusing a mismatch in the post. You know what I mean? I'm sure that he could root somebody out. It's getting a little too close to the basket before the ball's checked in, but I don't know how much he has to offer. And if Charles Oakley is going to be playing, I don't know how aesthetically pleasing this league is going to be.
And big shout to the NBA joining the NFL and warning Texas about the bathroom bill.
Mm-hmm. And big shout to our listeners who hit us up on our 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed and told us what their best and worst moments were from All-Star Weekend.
Do you think Mark Cuban wants to be the president? I know you saw his 46 jersey.
Of course I saw his 46 jersey. So I watched the celebrity game pretty hard. And Mark Cuban took the All-Star game way too seriously. Like, there was one time when someone came in and got an offensive rebound in front of him, and he looked around like, how come no one boxed him out? And he started off like 0 for 6 from the field. And I started to feel bad for him. I've never in my life felt bad for Mark Cuban. Never in my life did I feel 1/10 of sympathy towards Mark Cuban. But I was like, God, I just need this dude to get a bucket. Like, I just want him to get a bucket, just to put that on wax, so he can just rewind the tape and say, I got a bucket in this celebrity game. I felt bad for him. I don't feel bad for our listeners who sent us some great moments to reminisce over. The chosen one, who always hits us up, he said DJ Khaled performance was so bad, and so was the dunk contest following us. He's referring to what was a great moment when everyone was shooting threes, $10,000 a three to the Sager Foundation. It wasn't just DJ Khaled. I have a question for you, Jalen, in regards to that, which I'm sure you saw. I didn't go back and review the tape and do advanced metrics on it, but I think your man Anthony Anderson was like 0 for 10 from 3. Next time you do To Tell the Truth, and to watch To Tell the Truth, I think the season finale is coming right up. Are you going to bring this up to him?
Absolutely.
Because you can't participate if you don't feel confident in making at least one, you know? And after you've missed 5, you should be able to recalibrate and make 1. And if you did make 1, I apologize. I didn't watch this 3 times and take stats. Dennis says the best moment was Steph laying on the floor to avoid getting posterized. Your thoughts?
Well, he did get posterized by Greek Freak.
And that was right after. But Greek Freak was on the break, and Steph just basically laid down on the floor, got in the fetal position, and said, I want nothing to do with this defense. It was, to me, that's funny. You know what I mean? Like, if a moment like that is humorous and it's memorable, and I'm glad that he did it. But there has to be a part of you when you're Steph Curry and you're on the block and there's a defensive rebound coming your direction in the All-Star game. You have to remind yourself that there are a lot of people around you on the other team that are much, much taller, that want to dunk the basketball, and are very athletic. And perhaps you should let that go. Your thoughts?
Agree with you.
David Norton did give us his best or his worst moment, but had an interesting thought. Alley-oop from KD to Russ is being overhyped. Do you think that this alley-oop is being overhyped?
I don't think it's being overhyped because it shows an exchange of two people that aren't seeing eye to eye, working together for the greater good of basketball and being professionals. But this is why they only played probably a minute together, because Steve Kerr and the rest of the teammates saw that Russell was not going to drop his stance about how he felt about KD, and they didn't want it to get any more awkward.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel that Russell's kind of comfortable in this zone. I think that he's comfortable amidst the drama. You know, like some people are just sort of like they're in a relationship that involves a little bit of back and forth because they kind of like that turbulence. And I feel that like Russell finds strength from all of this. And I don't think that he's necessarily chomping at the bit to solve this, because if he could, I feel like KD would just drop it immediately if Russell, extended an olive branch.
Yes, because he was the one committing the violation, not the other way around.
And you also, one thing about this that people always call it drama or beef, or they don't like each other. Like, they're not out there airing each other's dirty laundry. Like, it's not that serious. Like, you really don't hear them say negative things about each other that often. You know, like there's not a lot of pointing back and forth or real sort of tension and problems between them. It's like, oh, he didn't text me. That's the problem. Smokey Rondo, one of my favorite handles, he said, I love when they put the New Orleans superfan in the celebrity game. They're talking about my man Jarius, who came in the celebrity game. Michael Smith put him in the game late as a closer, a little Mariano. And Jarius hit, which I'm sure you saw, like a nice little 8-foot shot from the baseline with all the lights on, was 1 for 1 from the floor. Now, here's what I love more than that, Jalen Rose. You ready?
Yes, indeed.
He had the opportunity to take a free throw later in the game. Do you know what he did?
What's that?
Said, no, thank you. Because when you're Jarius and you're 1 for 1 from the floor, you don't want to jeopardize that. You don't want to put it on film, a Joakim Noah airball free throw. You're
Agreed,
1 for
I like
1.
that.
You're 1 for 1, and you're 10 years old or whatever. You just keep rocking with the 10-year-old with a 1 for 1. Yep. Another thing is, come on, Win Butler. Come on, Win Butler. You gotta block that shot.
What?
It's almost like it's not even. It's almost almost like they're not playing as hard as they can against a 10-year-old in the celebrity game. It's almost like that.
No, you'd still be getting booed if you block that shot. Come on, man. Where's your compassion?
I'm joking, Mr. Rose. I'm joking. But I definitely watched the game like, ooh, I would have to cover Win Butler if I was in this. Like, they'd probably match me up with a big. I don't know how good that is for the hook shot. I want to acknowledge Pete Rosenberg, who's our colleague and our friend. He got in the game early, started the game, got the starting nod, and hit one of the first jumpers. It was like a 20-foot jump shot. Looked good, form looked good, release looked good. It went in. I was so proud of him in that moment. Because it's easy to hit a jump shot in the celebrity game. It's hard to hit your first jump shot early in the game in the celebrity game. Zachary says the best moments were Giannis as a whole, just Giannis, the unicorn. That's all. Giannis. Your thought?
We can't call everybody the unicorn.
That's kind of where I was going with this, too. Like, is everybody a unicorn?
Man.
Like,
and is Porzingis something we really haven't seen?
Yes.
Like, is he?
He is.
Is he?
He is.
Oh, you ever heard of Dirk?
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair comparison, but I think that their games are a little different.
What's so different about him?
Well, Porzingis' rookie year could shoot the three. Now, I'm not going to do the research to pull up Dirk Nowitzki's.
The game was different.
To pull up Dirk Nowitzki's rookie year
Carmelo
numbers.
Anthony shot more than Larry Bird. That doesn't mean he a better shooter. The game's different.
I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying.
I'm saying, like, everybody just fall back on trying to run with nicknames. Like,
Porzingis,
let me create the nicknames.
Let me create the nicknames. That's what you want. Yeah, you around here calling everybody. You got a nickname for 90% of the league, being like, everybody needs to fall back, all right? It has to be
the greatest nicknames I created was World Wild West.
Yeah, that one lasted, too. So let's say Dirk's rookie year, he attempted, 1.4.
He didn't even play.
And he shot 20% from three. Okay. That's different than Porzingis.
How many minutes did he play?
How many minutes a game did he play? 20. 20 minutes? 20 minutes, and you're only putting up 1-3 a game? You're shooting 20%? Come on now.
How many is Porzingis playing, and how many is he shooting?
Jalen, don't you understand how this show works? You just throw out questions and then make us do all the work chasing the information.
You're right, my bad.
Why do you do that to us? Why do you make us work? It's President's Day. We're like Bill Belichick. On Jalen and Jacoby, no days off. Nope. To our podcast listeners, thank you so much for downloading the podcast. Thank you so much for tweeting us. And don't forget, call 985-80-JALEN. Ask us a question. Give us some feedback. We love to hear from you. We'll be back tomorrow.
Done. We're not done. We're not done.